What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I want to talk about the situation that happened between P. Diddy, aka Diddy, and Cassie. And of course, P. Diddy and Cassie dated for about a little over a decade. I believe about 13 years. And very recently, Cassie filed a lawsuit against P. Diddy, citing sexual abuse, sexual assault. And I'll say that the lawsuit, that came out of left field. I was like, whoa, where did that come from? And, I first saw it on YouTube and I'm like, oh, it's just like for real. It's just some rumor mill stuff. Like, no, it's actually for real. And it even got picked up by like the mainstream press. And then I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a long drawn out court case, right? I'm thinking this is going to be on some like, Tory Lanez, Megan Thee Stallion type stuff, right? With the court case, just going on. And then we just make and render the verdict, and just, devolve into a he said, she said argument. But surprise, surprise, it didn't go down like that. To a lot of people's surprise, this pretty much ended within 24 to 48 hours as far as like deciding to settle. That was quick, fast, and in a hurry. I'm like, whoa, that was really quick. So I guess we ain't gonna have no courtroom drama this time, y'all. And of course, his legal team is saying that the settlement is not an admission of guilt. And probably legally speaking, within the settlement that they both agreed on, it probably was placed in there to say that, or something to that effect, where it's like, oh, this is not an admission of guilt, like this settlement, and they would have to agree to that in order to get the settlement. But in the courts of public opinion, it seems like it's close enough to an admission of some form of guilt, some form of being guilty. Because I haven't read the court document. It was about 35 pages. I'll admit that I have not read it, but I have heard about it. And they make some very serious accusations in those court documents. And if someone was making some very serious accusations about me that were not true, and again, this is just me personally, I wouldn't be in the mood to settle. I would be more so in the mood to fight against those accusations. And of course, it also brings to mind like the rumors that have involved P. Diddy over the years as well. But, I do hope that Cassie is in a good place. I know that money isn't everything. It is important, but it's not everything. And just because you have money, it does not mean that you necessarily have peace of mind. But of course, this situation has also brought about the conversation of, like the pitfalls of hypergamy. And of course, I do have to ask, what made Cassie stay for so long? As well, it seems like she stayed for so long, and she also waited for so long to file the lawsuit, because I believe that she claimed in the lawsuit that the SA, the violation took place throughout the course of their relationship. And I do think that is an important conversation to have. It's like, what made you stay for so long? What made you wait so long to seek a form of justice for yourself? Because I believe the relationship lasted for about 13 years. So that's a long time. If what she's saying is really the truth, then that is a long time to deal with a situation like that. Dealing with SA for that long, especially. But, a lot of people speculate that the reason that she ultimately stayed was because, maybe it's like basically she got addicted to the lifestyle. And to keep it real, P. Diddy probably could afford her a lifestyle that she could not afford herself. Because now that I really think about it, like, what has Cassie actually done within the industry? Like, since her first album, since her music career, because let's be real, that didn't really go anywhere. Not anywhere too far. But I believe, from what I've heard, that P. Diddy, he probably also promised her a music career too. So that was probably a part of it too. But Cassie should have known from that point that no. Like, she should have known then that P. Diddy was on some BS talking about her music career now. Because, keeping it real, I only know off the top of my head, about 4 songs from Cassie. And the average person probably knows 1 at best. Unless you're one of her, like, super mega fans that just love Cassie so much. I know, of course, her hit Me and You. I know A Long Way to Go. I know Official Girl. And I know one random song off her first album that was like an album song and not a single, called Ditto, because someone used it in a video on YouTube once years ago, probably at least a decade ago. And I just happened to remember that. I said ditto, ditto, ditto. It really goes like that. And her vocal ability, her vocals, I'll just put it like this. Her vocals made Jennifer Lopez sound like Mariah Carey or Whitney Houston. In comparison. But, I will say that I did like the song Long Way to Go. I thought that was a good song. But P. Diddy would threaten not to release her music. Like, if she were to leave or, break up with him or stuff like that. So that was a part of it too, that P. Diddy, he had the money and he also had kind of like the resources and the connections to get her the career that she wanted, even though I don't really know if Cassie really was all that into her music career. She doesn't really strike me as that type, but okay. But the thing is, she also started off, I believe, as a model. Couldn't she have just went back to trying to do the modeling thing with just a little bit of buzz and heat from her music career or something like that? Or maybe she could have gotten into, like, acting or hosting. I think she did a song with Nicki Minaj once. Maybe. It was either she did a song or she was featured in the music video. But I think she may have had some vocals on the song. I think. I could be wrong, but I think so. So that's that. And she got that. But also, though, again, as I mentioned before, P. Diddy threatened not to release her music. But I'm thinking, I don't remember hearing any music from Cassie. Not much of any music from Cassie in the last 13 years. So it never got released anyway. So there was like false, unfulfilled promises. And also, I remember when the story came out that Cassie left Diddy for her personal trainer that I believe P. Diddy set her up with. And when I initially heard that story, I was like, oh man, that's really effed up that, that something like that would happen. Again, not really knowing the behind the scenes stuff. Just taking it at face value, where it's like, oh, wow, she just up and left P. Diddy for her personal trainer that he was paying for. That's kind of messed up and shady. But of course, it was more to the story than that. And, if all the things that she say, or even some of the things that she says in the lawsuit are true, then it would explain why she left P. Diddy in the way that she did. And also, they were in a relationship for, again, 13 years, and she didn't get a marriage out of it. She didn't get a kid out of it. And, thankfully, she didn't have a kid with P. Diddy, but I'm just saying, like, she didn't really get anything that was, like, something that many people, especially women, want from a relationship, especially a relationship that lasted 13 years. Because thankfully, Cassie, she still got some youth left. She still got some looks left. So she'll be okay. But 13 years is a long time. And sometimes it's like, well, what do you have to show for 13 years? And thankfully, Cassie was able to get some money from this lawsuit to get some compensation for the 13 years that she wasted with P. Diddy. Most people aren't able to really do that. And also, when Cassie came out with this story, with the lawsuit, and it hit the mainstream media especially, but also, social media, like, there were, like, some people in the industry, like, agreeing with Cassie or supporting Cassie and speaking against P. Diddy, which definitely helps to support the claims that she's making, or that she made in her lawsuit that got settled. Also, I do remember hearing that the woman that P. Diddy got with right after he broke up with Cassie, aka Cassie Light, Great Value Cassie, she had mentioned some similar things as well, but she didn't stay nearly as long as Cassie did. But I do remember that that story. It probably could be dug up somewhere. The internet never forgets. So I'm sure it's somewhere on the internet. And also, I do remember back when P. Diddy had the show Making the Band, I remember him and the choreographer, Lorianne Gibson, getting into an altercation. And the cameras had to cut. It was, they had a disagreement because of the male band, Day 26. Before they were formed, Lorianne was working with them, I believe, and either before they were formed or after they were formed. I'm sorry, it's been a long time since I watched it. But there was a disagreement because Lorianne gave them some dance moves to learn that seemed to take more time than a day to learn. And P. Diddy did not agree with that. And one word led to another word. And then I believe P. Diddy started like throw a chair or kind of get physical a little bit, but the camera's cut, so we don't know what exactly happened. But something happened though. So I was like, that made me think about that. And then there were also some rumors about him being responsible for Kim Porter's death. And I often just shrug those off because a lot of people say those things just for some clicks, views, likes, subscribe, just some clout, But now that I'm thinking about, well, perhaps, perhaps. I would hope not, because, that's something that's really serious, the death of somebody. But who's to say for sure at this point? You know, and I also thought about like his musical artists that he's had over the years. It's like a lot of them pretty much have more or less the same story about more or less being swindled and conned by P. Diddy. Like, I believe like Jada Kiss, the original making the band, like the band, like that group. Then Danity Kane, and then Day 26, and then Dream, possibly Mace, I'm not sure. And also, I believe, I could be wrong about this, but I think P. Diddy still owns the catalog of um, Biggie Smalls publishing, like his publishing catalog. And I believe that Jadakiss brought that up in an interview when he was speaking with a radio station. He was like, you know, why, pretty much putting out there, like, why do you still have that catalog? Like, that catalog should be with either Faith Evans, who I believe was Biggie's wife at the time of his death, or his kids. So I say all that to say, in reference to the hypergamy aspect of the conversation, if hypergamy is for you, then definitely do it. If hypergamy is not for you, then simply don't participate. And seeing as the women who are pro hypergamy and women who are not with hypergamy, considering that those two groups of women are looking for two different groups of men, it seems like they should, at best or at worst, just be neutral to each other and not really have any sort of beef with each other. It seems that way, but for some reason it doesn't seem to go that way for some reason. I think somewhere along the way, I think it gets sort of like scrambled or misconstrued or misunderstood, because I think one group of women is saying that their way is the best, and another group of women is saying that their way is the best. So I think that's where the disagreement comes into play, and, you know, people kind of get a bit more heated in certain conversations. And then, of course, there is, you know, a colorism aspect to this conversation that we can explore as well. Do I think that P. Diddy is a colorist? I'm not sure. It wouldn't surprise me, but to be fair, I'm not sure. And the reason that is because Kim Porter was in the picture, and I believe he had his kids with Kim Porter. So that's something. I mean, I know some people may scoff at that, but it is something. But I think P. Diddy could just be one of those who just really likes to explore their options. You know, because he was with, like, at one point, like, Jennifer Lopez, and then Cameron Diaz for a moment, I think, and then Cassie, and then Kim Porter. And some people think, well, you know, Kim Porter could be considered an exotical herself, just a darker skinned exotical, which perhaps that is true. But I'll say that I would say, if I had to guess, I would say that, you know, there's maybe some kind of color struckness, you know, because I do remember that, you know, during that whole George Floyd protest, right? You know, P. Diddy, he was posting a whole lot of Sister Soldier, you know, I thought I told you, right? And some people may think, well, what's wrong with that? But the thing is, though, someone had pointed out that, hey, you know, you posted Sister Soldier, but not too long ago when it came to promoting your alcoholic beverage, you weren't using a model that was nowhere near reminiscent of a Sister Soldier or even like her phenotype. That's when, they want to bring out the exoticals. And I do have a question to pose, and that is, why does it seem like these dudes can never make it work with their exotical preferences? Because it's one thing when they want to blame it all on black women, but then it's like, okay, well, black women are now out of the picture, so what's the excuse now? What's the problem now? And I'll tell you the problem. The problem is these dudes and their mentality. A lot of them are color struck and colorist. They never want to seem to straighten up and fly right for their preferences. Why? You got all that you asked for. Which further proves something that I've said on my channel before, and, directed towards black women. I said at least once. And that is, you can come as correct as ever. Just come on point with everything from the looks to the weight to, the money, if they're looking for you to have money and bring something to the table. What you bring to the table, black woman? So you can come correct and check every single box, but you can still end up getting done wrong, getting done dirty, and experiencing all of the typical pitfalls of love and relationships. So while it is great, definitely, to improve upon oneself, definitely, I'm not saying don't improve upon yourself. It's just that the character of the man factors into it as well, as far as like when it comes to the relationship aspect of it. And of course, you should improve upon yourself for the purposes of yourself, which of course, definitely. But, whoever you get with is going to get the benefits of those improvements as well, though. So long story short, just make sure that whoever you get with is worth it, or is deserving of, the new and improved or the more enhanced version of you. And also, before we go, I do want to touch on one more thing, and that is, some people were bringing up the situations and comparing them, the situation with Cassie and comparing it to the situations with Keke Palmer and Megan Thee Stallion, and saying that some people felt like Cassie kind of got a bit more support than, say, Keke Palmer, or Megan Thee Stallion. And I'll say that Cassie did, I believe, get some pushback. I believe so. But I think she also did get some support, and that could be possibly because people are more familiar with P. Diddy and how he moves and what he does do to people, or at least what he is rumored to do to people. That could have been a factor in it as well. But I do believe that had this played out in a long, drawn-out court case, I do believe that Cassie would be getting some pushback from at least some people in the community. In reference to Megan Thee Stallion, I think what worked against her was a few things. One, people are going to say phenotype, and perhaps, there is some truth in that, Also, I think Megan Thee Stallion's persona, I think she comes off a bit more, like in your face a bit more. Because when that situation with her and Tory Lanez happened, when it first came out, it was like people were asking, what did she do? Like, dang, like what? Like, she is pow in the foot, and folks saying, what'd she do? and coming up with all these just elaborate stories about, Megan Thee Stallion, going off on Tory Lanez, cussing him out, physically attacking him, punching him, in order to justify what he did. And also Tory Lanez does have some fame too, so I think that may have been a factor in it. And also Megan Thee Stallion's character, because I don't think that it was cool for her to go mess with a dude that her friend was with at the time. I don't think that was cool, and I think that's possibly part of the reason that she wound up getting caught up in the situation that she did. And also the Tory Lanez. He shouldn't have been messing with his girlfriend's friend. And that's probably why he ended up getting caught up in the situation that he did. Regarding Keke Palmer's situation, one thing I want to bring up right quick, since we on this subject is, I'm hearing a lot about Keke Palmer's mama, Keke Palmer mama, right? And that's cool. That's what's up, a mama going hard for her daughter, right? That's great. Definitely. But Keke Palmer has a father too, and I believe her father has been an active father in her life, and I believe that her parents, I don't know if they're still together, but I know that they were at least together when Keke was like, a kid, a teenager, an adolescent. So I say all of that to say, where is Keke Palmer's father in all of this? I haven't heard much from him. Inquiring minds would like to know. Also, bringing this back to the comparison between like Keke Palmer's situation and Cassie's situation. Keke Palmer's situation, I don't know. People are saying that Keke Palmer is receiving some backlash and whatnot because she is an unambiguous, darker skinned black woman. And, that there could be some truth in that. Because I do remember a while ago, this happened years ago, but I remember Keke Palmer, I think, being with Trey Songz at the time. And all of a sudden, when she was with him, they ended up wanting to film a music video. And Keke Palmer was not with it, and she ended up hiding in the closet and then going on social media about it. And then folks coming after her, basically saying, you wrong, you messed up, why you doing this to Trey Songz? But from what I've heard, I believe Trey Songz does have somewhat of a history of, being involved in some inappropriate activities. But maybe people aren't believing Keke also because her baby daddy is ambiguous, racially ambiguous. But I feel like if her baby daddy wasn't racially ambiguous and just, a phenotypic black man, I think it would, for some reason, I feel like it would still more or less be the same reaction. Because it's coming from a place of not valuing black women. But with the Keke Palmer situation, I believe she saw these signs and experienced, DV before she got pregnant by her child's father. So the question I have for Keke is what made you stay and what made you get pregnant? And also, just in general, I think people view black women, especially darker skinned black women, as being more aggressive than they actually are. So I think that also plays a factor in how people react to black women who have experienced some form of abuse, where it's more so the question is, well, what did you do versus what happened? What did he do? But don't worry. Trust and believe justice will be served, either through the legal system or through God's judgment. And with that being said, I'm going to bring this video to a close. So thank you very much for watching. Please let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Until the next video, adios and goodbye for now.